It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the U.S. of A. and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations. We cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Cruz.
If it's November, there are two things you'll want to be doing. One of them is duck hunting. The local birds are still plentiful, though a little gun-shy, and the northern migrants are beginning to wing their way into the fields, lakes, marshes, and rivers all over our great nation. If you're looking for some public lands to hunt, the folks at Ducks Unlimited have some suggestions for you with an article focusing on 20 top public lands you ought to hunt for ducks that you may not have hunted before. One of these places is in the Tennessee River Valley in our Mississippi Flyway. There are several areas to hunt here, but according to the folks at DU, perhaps the best is Kentucky Lake, which flows south to north from the Pickwick Lake Tail Race to the Kentucky Dam. This 184 square mile lake has numerous bays, islands, and adjoining lowlands where public hunting is available. And state land near Springfield annually attracts large numbers of mallards, gadwalls, teal, and other ducks. These birds provide good hunting opportunities on nearby wildlife management areas operated by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. Some areas offer hunting from fixed blinds only, while others are open to freelance hunters. In California, Merced National Wildlife Refuge is once again poised to take its place among California's top public waterfowl hunting areas. It's located north of Fresno. There's over 10,000 acres of wetlands, native grasslands, pools, and riparian areas. Bob Paris, Deputy Refuge Manager at the San Luis National Wildlife Refuge Complex, says this is the first time we've had a typical water supply in 4 years. That allows us to irrigate most of our moist soil units, which provides crucial food resources for visiting waterfowl. Flood up is well advanced at this point, so we're expecting a much more typical year. Hunters should have plenty of opportunities to see and harvest a lot of birds this season. And in southwestern Washington, the Willapa National Wildlife Refuge has long been one of the best public waterfowling areas in the Pacific Flyway. It's located not far from Long Beach along the Pacific coast, and the refuge was established in 1937 to protect this estuary from development and to provide habitat for migrating waterfowl and other birds. Willapa National Wildlife Refuge Manager Jackie Ferrier says, we already have huge groups of teal and geese coming in. It's a great place to hunt and see a lot of birds, especially early in the season. This refuge covers more than 16,000 acres, which are divided into several management units. Our thanks goes out to the staff at Ducks Unlimited for this great information. Speaking of great information, we've got the latest migration reports from the pro staffers with Avery Outdoors covering the entire West Coast. We'll start off with Southern California, where there's plenty of food for the migrating birds when they arrive. Fields are cut and flooded. So far, it's all local birds. In western Nevada, they finally got some rain, but the water levels are still very, very low. Having said that, though, there's lots of teal, gadwalls, widgeons, and spoonbills. The geese are scattered, and they're seeing new birds each weekend, so that has been good because the hunting has been slow. In Northern California, Gene Carter reports that water conditions are very good. The rice crop was planted this year, 100% of it. There's lots of speckled belly geese. Ducks seem normal for the early part of the season. And while the opener in California was pretty slow, it looks like the recent rains and the forecast for a great season is going to make for a lot of fun there. Heading to northeastern Washington, Kent Contreras reports that weather's been pretty mild. The Pend Oreille River is rising and the ponds and sloughs are filling up. Resident birds are plentiful and seem to be at normal numbers. And Jared Shepard, checking in from the Columbia River near Wenatchee, Washington, says it's mostly local Canada geese, mallards, and widgeon in the area, though he has observed a sudden influx in diver ducks on the Columbia, primarily buffleheads. And finally, checking in from the Lahontan Valley in Fallon, Nevada, is Travis Roulette. Says the local ducks in that area, with the storm that came through, they're moving out, and not many birds have yet moved in. So all in all, it looks promising for California once the birds come down. It's looking pretty good in Washington State right now, and Nevada's been tough, but they are hopeful. This week on the show, we're going to be checking in with John Hennigan. He's the host of Fish Talk Radio. We're going to see how the saltwater fishing has been off the coast of California and how he thinks things will go as we head deeper into November. With Veterans Day coming up, we thought it would be a great time to check in with Ron Rabu about Wounded Warrior Outdoors, a nonprofit organization that takes wounded soldiers out in the field or on the water throughout North America for hunting and fishing trips designed to help them to heal. This is a great program from a great organization. You're going to love hearing about this. Another important day coming up is Election Day. And if you are thinking about sitting this one out, don't do it. Your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms is going to be affected in this election, and you need to cast a vote if you want to protect that right. Dave Workman, the senior editor of Gun Mag, will explain more in a few minutes. We've got outdoors news about a fast food chain rolling out venison sandwiches this month. Can you say tasty? Some suggestions about where to go fishing in Alaska right now. That's right, there's still fishing to be had in Alaska. And a trail of shame highlighting a two-time moose poacher. We'll also explain why you need a special type of insurance for that boat of yours, because your homeowner's policy or auto policy is probably not going to cut the mustard when you need it. Take it all together, and we are once again covering the outdoor scene throughout the country. And now, let's head to California to check out the saltwater fishing scene. Next up on America Outdoors Radio, we're talking to John Hennigan. He is the host of Fish Talk Radio. He lives in California. We thought that we would check in with him to see how the saltwater fishing is going this month. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, John, what a pleasure.
John, Oregon, Washington, Alaska, it's pretty much done for the saltwater fishing, but I understand in Southern California, there's still quite a bit of good fishing to be had in the month of November.
Well, what's been happening in the last few years is that it used to be that if you're talking about Alaska or Baja, you tell me what day it is, and I can tell you what the weather's going to be and what the fish report's going to be.
Right.
But it's not that way anymore.
Go on.
I don't want to get into politics about, global warming and such, but there is such a thing as climate change, and there are cycles, and things do change. But right now, there's still yellowfin tuna being caught off of Southern California.
That is amazing.
The white sea bass and the tuna and the yellowtail have been phenomenal.
And do you think that's going to hold up through the month of November for the white sea bass, the yellowfin tuna, and the yellowtail?
No, things are starting to change pretty quick.
Okay.
For this time of the year, there's still some great offshore fishing off of Southern California, but things go in cycles and things are changing. It is definitely starting to change already.
So what is an angler to do off the Southern California coast when it comes to November fishing?
Well, if you're looking for the San Diego area, so there's still a lot of yellowfin, and then of course as you go farther north and the water's cooler, we're getting into the time of the year where it's mostly rockfish. I want to also mention even lobster and crab.
Really? You think of lobster, and you always think of East Coast. You don't think of the California coast for lobster.
Well, it's finding lobster. And Santa Barbara actually produces quite a bit of it. It's ridiculous. The wholesale price on it is over $20 a pound.
Oh my gosh!
And most all of it goes to China and Japan.
Is the table fare as good as the classic Australian lobster or the East Coast lobster?
Well, the rock lobster, cold water lobster, it has a larger tail. The spiny lobster are not that big, and the tails aren't that big. But, if I had my choice, if I was going to buy lobster, I'd go to Costco and get the New Zealand or Australian lobster, the tails. But, if you want live lobster, then, either that or the Maine lobster. But it's great stuff.
Well, we are running short on time, but before we go, tell our listeners about your show, Fish Talk Radio.
Okay. Well, Fish Talk Radio has been around for some time. We probably spend more time on blue water fishing than we should. So we do try and cover some freshwater and bass fishing and stuff. But it is primarily internet based. But if you go to fishtalkradio.com, we post a new show every week.
And folks, having heard this show before, I can tell you it is definitely worth listening to. I tend to listen to it on WRVO Radio, which is RenoViolaOutdoors.com.
Yeah. No, he does a great job.
Yes, he does. We have got to go, John, but thank you for weighing in on the status of California fisheries. Sure appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, John.
Hughes Craft is the Pacific Northwest best-selling boat. It's a family fishing boat that has been providing the most safety, fishability, and the best value to Northwest boaters since 1948. Hughes Craft's welded aluminum boats are built for serious fishermen with plenty of room for fighting fish, not the rest of the crew. Our state-of-the-art design allows for pure fishing functionality and the durability to last season after season, year after year, and decade after decade. To find the Hughes Craft dealer nearest you, visit HughesCraft.com.
So let me tell you a little story. A few years ago, I was traveling up to the Cowlitz River to do a little steelhead fishing. Right about this time of year, I hit a sheet of black ice, and in a matter of seconds, I had $50,000 worth of boat laying in a ditch upside down. My first call was to my insurance company, a company that if you own a boat, you need to know about. The company is called the Boat Insurance Agency, and they're located right here in the Northwest. In a very short amount of time, my totaled boat, a situation that could have sunk me, was resurrected and made right. I've since learned that my outcome isn't always the case for others, which is why you need to be sure your boat insurance is being handled by boat insurance experts. This is what they do, folks. Visit them on the web at boatinsurance.net. That's boatinsurance.net. The Boat Insurance Agency. Hey, this is a call you have to make. You need to know that your boat is really covered. boatinsurance.net.
Master Marine in Mount Vernon, Washington specializes in fishing and fun. We offer 7 brands of boats, including Osprey, Sea Sport, Sea Dory, Tomcat, Lund, Weldcraft, and Thunderjet. We also offer Suzuki, Yamaha, and Mercury motors. In other words, no matter what you're fishing for, we've got the boat for you. Drop by Master Marine at 330 East Blackburn Road in Mount Vernon to see what's on the lot, or go online to mastermarine.com. That's mastermarine.com.
You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. This portion of the show is brought to you by California Sportsman Magazine. It's the publication that covers the hunting and fishing scene throughout the great state of California. Look for it at a newsstand near you. This being the week where Veterans Day is taking place, we thought it would be appropriate to check in with Ron Rabu. He is the director of the Wounded Warrior Outdoors, which is completely different than the Wounded Warrior Project. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. But first off, Ron, welcome to the show.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me back.
So, Ron, let's go ahead and tell folks about Wounded Warrior Outdoors. Go ahead and give us a little bio about the organization.
I formed and founded WWO back in 2006, and we developed a program in cooperation with then Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, which at the time was in Washington, D.C. The medical staff at the hospital recognized the therapeutic value of outdoor activities in motivating and helping current wounded warriors to get out of the hospital and rediscover abilities they thought may have been lost in the battlefield. So we built on that over the last 10 years, and we're still going strong. We've expanded to 2 other medical centers, Balboa Naval Medical Center, which is out of San Diego, and Brooke Army Medical Center, which is in San Antonio.
So, Ron, you basically take these wounded warriors, these soldiers who are recovering from their wounds, out for fishing and hunting trips. Why don't you tell us, just over the last year, some of the trips you've taken these veterans out on?
Well, what we do is we average about a trip a month, so 12 trips a year. It's not quite spread out in that fashion, but it's everything from hunting trips in Texas to fishing trips in Alaska. Just last week we finished up on a alligator hunt here in Central Florida, where I'm speaking to you from.
Wow.
The way our program works is that although we as WWO, we fully fund, fully staff, and fully host all the events, we have nothing to do with the selection process of the warriors that participate. That's left up to the medical staff at the hospitals where the warriors are receiving treatment. And they base the selection of the warrior not on whether they like to hunt or fish, but what the therapeutic potential the trips provide them for their given injuries. So it's pretty unique. We don't ever know the guys or girls until we see them on our trips.
Ron, that really is unique, and so I'm guessing from what you're telling me here, you probably get some people who have literally never shot a rifle before in terms of a hunting situation. Clearly they have in the military, but perhaps they've never hunted before.
Well, if I had to pick a number, I would say between 60 and 70% of the warriors that participate on our program have never hunted or fished before.
Wow. That is absolutely amazing to me. I just assumed, like I think most people would, that the people that you're getting are people who have an interest in hunting and fishing, and that's how they want to go ahead and recuperate. But you're telling me that this is a brand new experience for a lot of them.
It's a brand new experience, and not only do you get the allure of the outdoors, but you get the motivation and inspiration of the hunt or fishing trip itself, and the magic that really only occurs on the first time you've experienced a hunting or fishing trip. The magic is like taking a kid for his first experience in the field. It can't be replicated, and it only happens once.
Nope, you're absolutely right. And I think every father who has taken a son or daughter out for their first hunting trip knows exactly what you're talking about there. Besides the Central Florida alligator hunt, what are some of the other trips that you took Wounded Warriors out on this year?
We do several fishing trips in the state of Kentucky, which is another unique situation there because the state of Kentucky has a very progressive wildlife management division or their wildlife conservation commission, and they actually open up some of the state parks for us to take our warriors hunting on as a means of rehabilitation for the warrior and also population management within the game units.
Sure.
We also we have a great fly fishing trip in the remote aspect or remote area of Alaska, and that takes place in August. We do 2 different spring bear hunts hosting 14 warriors in British Columbia. We have a call hunt on a high fenced operation in Texas where we go in at the end of the ranch's season and harvest the inferior animals, if that's the way you want to describe it.
Sure.
And we're getting ready. We have one trip here next week or the week after next in Kentucky on a whitetail deer hunt. Then we work with 2 other states that have put together unique opportunities for our warriors. That's Arizona and Montana, where tags that have been drawn on limit entry basis, which would have typically gone into the trash can if the party that was drawing the tag couldn't go for some conflict. Those states allow those particular parties to donate those tags to Wounded Warriors. So we probably host about 15 or 20 warriors in that respect a year. They're not group trips, but they're one-off trips, and we typically put those onto what we would classify our alumni warriors that have priorly participated on our group trips.
You're listening to America Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Ron Rabu about Wounded Warrior Outdoors, a nonprofit organization that takes out our wounded soldiers for fishing and hunting trips all over the nation as a way to help them heal. Ron, you obviously, being a nonprofit organization, you need some money to fuel this fire that you've got burning here in terms of these trips. What kind of events do you have throughout the year that help you get some of this money so you can fund these trips?
We actually have only 2 events a year. We have a silent auction event that takes place here in Central Florida in the month of February, and a shooting event that takes place in San Antonio, Texas in September. We've kind of, unlike a lot of the other organizations, we've kind of taken this stance that we don't want to solicit donations because we feel like if we did solicit, we would have to exploit the warriors and their injuries for financial gain, and that's against what we believe in. So we kind of take the passive role and wait for people, caring individuals or patriotic Americans, to find out about us and step forward, either on a corporate or personal basis. So makes it a little difficult the way we do it, but we always keep the integrity of the warriors we host first and foremost, and we refuse to exploit them.
Well, I think that's fantastic. And folks, some of you have probably heard about the controversy of a similar named organization, Wounded Warrior Project, which unfortunately has gotten some press for all the wrong reasons in terms of how they're treating veterans and how they're doing their fundraising. This is a different organization. Wounded Warrior Outdoors is completely separate, has nothing to do with them, and quite frankly, having talked to Ron for a couple years now, is very deserving of your time and your money if you choose to give to our veterans and our soldiers who are recovering from the horrific wounds of war. Is there a website we can steer people towards?
Yes, there is. It's www.woundedwarrioroutdoors.com. And just to clarify on your point, WWO is a 100% volunteer organization. since our inception, we have never spent a single cent in any form of staff compensation. So I think last year when we ran our financials, 94.7 cents on every dollar went directly to the benefit of the Warriors. The only unavoidable costs we have are items like insurance and some minor printing costs and stuff. So we just can't, I don't know how we could possibly run a leaner organization.
Well, God bless you for what you're doing, Ron. It's greatly appreciated. As a veteran myself, I think what you're doing is just fantastic. The organization, again, folks, Wounded Warrior Outdoors, go to their website. It's woundedwarrioroutdoors.com. That's woundedwarrioroutdoors.com. And consider making a financial donation to help them help our veterans and our soldiers who are recovering. Ron, thanks again for being on here on America Outdoors Radio.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
Tillamook Bay is considered the greatest fishing experience on the west coast for fall Chinook salmon and winter steelhead, and Dungeness crab is plentiful. 5 major rivers connect with the ocean on the Tillamook coast. It's not unusual to snag a 40 to 50 pounder. Go out in a boat or stand on a riverbank or dock. Try fishing from a dory boat and experience the thrill of a beach launch and landing. Use spinners, sand shrimp, or salmon eggs to lure them. The fish will line up to grab your bait. Go to tillamookcoast.com/fishing to find guides and places to stay.
Tom and Jerry's Boat Center in Mount Vernon is Washington's largest Hughes Craft and Kingfisher aluminum boat dealer. As a leader in sales, service, and fun on the water, Tom and Jerry's only purpose is to make sure you end up with the right boat for your family's needs at a price that will make you smile. Whether it's a new Hughes Craft or Kingfisher or a new Yamaha or Honda outboard, Tom and Jerry's can take care of all your needs. Check us out at tomandjerrys.net, and we'll see you on the water.
Welcome back to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz, and this portion of the show is brought to you by the American Shooting Journal. It is the publication that covers firearms and the shooting sports throughout the nation. Look for a copy at a newsstand near you. We've got a really important election coming up in just a couple of days, especially when it comes to your Second Amendment rights. With us here to talk about why you need to vote and to go over some of the implications of this election is Dave Workman. He's the senior editor of Gun Mag and a nationally known journalist covering firearms. Dave, welcome back to the show.
Well, very nice to have me come over here, John. Thank you.
So, Dave, why is it so important for folks to vote in this election?
Well, I think it's because, in spite of the fact that we've got 2 candidates who have incredibly high unpopularity ratings, the Second Amendment and actually the Bill of Rights is really on the line here. And we've got a clear choice between one candidate who has said to a fundraiser that she thinks the Supreme Court was wrong on the Second Amendment. And you've got another candidate who has steadfastly insisted that the Second Amendment is almost sacrosanct with him, and he's going to appoint the Supreme Court justices who protect the Second Amendment. So I can't think of a choice that is more clear than that for the firearms community.
Sure. It's just a shame that the standard bearers are so flawed in this situation. But let's talk about this real quick. If Donald Trump is elected, he has the endorsement of the National Rifle Association. Again, you expect to see Supreme Court justices. Probably there's one opening now. There's likely to be another opening coming up that will be protective of the Second Amendment. Do you see otherwise things as status quo if Donald Trump is in office?
No, I don't think so, because remember the next president will also appoint or at least nominate judges to the lower federal courts, and that's where a lot of this gun debate is going to be continuing over the next several years. And there's an important addendum to all of this. If Trump is elected, he needs to have a Republican Senate majority so that the Senate Judiciary Committee is controlled by the GOP, and that they get confirmation on his nominations, which presumably will be people who believe in the Second Amendment as protective of an individual civil right. People don't think that one through, John, and you know this as well as I do, that there are far too many people who just never seem to make the connection between the branches of government and how important it is for people to vote all the way down the ticket, one way or the other.
You're absolutely right. But let's talk about Hillary Clinton. What is her stated views regarding the Second Amendment, and is it true that she supports Australian-style methods of gun control? And why don't you explain to our listeners exactly what's happened in the land down under for gun owners?
Well, it's funny that you should bring that up. About a year ago, if I recall correctly, Hillary was at a town hall someplace, I think it was up in New Hampshire, where it was obviously a canned question from somebody in the audience asking her about gun control. And she rambled on for several minutes about how we should look at the way the Australians handled gun control about 20 years ago following a massacre in Tasmania, which, by the way, used to be a penal colony down there. And just recently, the Australian government offered a new gun amnesty because they say there's something like 260,000 illegal guns in the country that they need to get rid of. If people turn them in, well, there won't be any criminal charges, yada, yada, yada. And then the minister of whatever it was admitted that criminals don't seem to obey the gun laws.
Go figure.
And I read that and I'm going, well, yeah, okay. It took you a while to reach that conclusion, didn't it? And frankly, Australia's gun confiscation, really it was, they offered a gun buyback, but it was mandatory. You turned your guns in, you got money for them, or you were in trouble.
Right.
And that's what gun registration does to you. I think that's why gun control advocates want to register all the guns so that they know where they're at.
Speaking of which, let's talk about a couple of state initiatives in our listening area. Proposition 63 in California would mandate background checks not for gun purchases, but for purchasing ammunition at your local Walmart or sporting goods store, and you actually have to obtain a permit that costs $50 to do it as well.
Yeah, and that, to me, is the most draconian of all gun control proposals out there. It's not going to prevent bad guys from shooting up Los Angeles or San Francisco. It's just going to impair even further the rights of law-abiding citizens to buy ammunition and exercise their Second Amendment rights, whether they're target shooting or hunting or just defending their homes. This is the kind of insidious mindset that comes from extremist gun prohibition people. And it's funny that the police chiefs in California, the sheriff's associations down there, the prosecutors are against this thing, and it's putting all those people against the politicians in Sacramento, and particularly against Gavin Newsom, who's the lieutenant governor in California. He wants to be the next governor of California. This is a train wreck in waiting. It's probably going to pass, and it's probably going to wind up in state and federal courts being challenged by everybody under the sun. Even Kim Rhode, the Olympic shooter medalist, is against this, and she's rather public about her opposition to this thing.
One other initiative to talk about is Initiative 1491 in Washington State. This one's a little trickier. Why don't you explain to our listeners what this is about and your view on it?
Well, it's called the Emergency Protection Order Initiative, and what it would allow, according to the critics, and that includes the ACLU of Washington, is they're going to dance around due process, deny somebody their firearms right based on complaints that take place at an ex parte hearing. That means you're not present, and then you get to have up to a year and maybe longer to prove your innocence. And that's a problem with this. It's not just a Second Amendment issue, it's a Fifth and 14th Amendment issue, because both of those amendments mention due process. And the critics of this measure say that the due process is sorely lacking, even though the proponents say that, oh, no, there's all kinds of process in here. Well, I'm not sure that there is. There are some mental health activists who are also against this initiative. The problem is it's backed by a bunch of very rich people, wealthy elitists from the Seattle area, the same people that pushed through Initiative 594 2 years ago, and they've got tons of money to spend on this thing. And I suspect that if it passes, which it very likely will, it's going to wind up in court also, almost immediately.
We are short on time, but let's steer people towards some websites so they can find out more about voting in this election and about some of the propositions coming up, and just to get educated about the Second Amendment.
To just learn about the Second Amendment, go to the Second Amendment Foundation's website. You can Google that. It's at saf.org. Then there's also the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. Their website is ccrkba.org. Now, I write regularly for thegunmag.com, libertyparkpress.com, theconservativefiringline.com, and I've got a new gig going with the online edition of American Handgunner that I'm particularly proud of. I do a weekly column online for them, too.
Dave, you're a busy man. We have got to go, but I look forward to talking to you again soon and hopefully running across you at SHOT Show.
Well, I'll look for you there, John. Thanks very much for having me.
I'm former Major League Relief pitcher Goose Gossage, here to make my most important pitch ever. Join the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and help us protect millions of acres of North America's wildlife habitat.
Visit elkfoundation.org or call 1-800-CALL-ELK.
Got a box full of inside the waistband holsters you bought but hate to use? Well, so did we. That's why two Nates created Nate Squared Tactical. We manufacture the most comfortable IWB holsters on the market. Just ask our customers. They love our patented design that completely isolates you from your handgun. And our holsters are handcrafted in Lexington, North Carolina, with the highest quality materials. It's time to throw that box out and replace it with your very own Nate Squared holster. Find out more at n82tactical.com.
Frontier Tactical's Warlock multiple caliber system allows you to retrofit your AR-15 rifle to shoot up to 60 different calibers with the same upper and lower receiver. The Warlock is compatible with most off-the-shelf AR-15 components, which means you get to build your rifle the way you want to. Whether you're into predator hunting, hog hunting, deer hunting, or self-defense, the Warlock multiple caliber system lets you do it all. Find out more about this innovative, made in the USA product at frontiertactical.com.
Looking for the safest, most stable riding boat on the market? Welcome to Stabicraft. Born in New Zealand, Stabicraft has a built-in reputation for making the most seaworthy boats on the market. Heavy-gauge aluminum chambered boats with models ranging from 14 to 29 feet in a variety of configurations to suit all your needs. Check out the all-new 2750 center cab, a walk-around design for the Northwest market and packed with industry-leading features to suit all types of fishing, allowing you to adventure with confidence. Book a test ride today at stabicraft.com.
Jim Houston inviting you on a West Coast wilderness vacation to Duncanby Lodge. From the moment you fly right to the dock, you'll notice the Duncanby difference. It's your vacation. Fish on your own or with a guide, catch the bite when you're ready. No set meal times here. Dine off an extensive menu when you want. And this, in a setting just off the entrance to majestic Rivers Inlet. Come on up this summer and enjoy a few days where time, date, and currency mean absolutely nothing. Check us out at Duncanby.com.
Everyone knows Kodiak Island is one of the best places in Alaska to go fishing. You can pay a lot of money to go with a guide or stay at a lodge, or you can do it yourself. There are over 100 miles of roadway on Kodiak Island leading to streams and lakes full of trout, salmon, and char. How to get there? With Budget of Kodiak. Located at the airport, we offer daily and weekly car rentals, as well as discounts for military and AARP members. Contact Budget of Kodiak and explore.
Timberline Range Camps are known for their rugged, durable, well-insulated range camp trailers. Don't think of these as an RV. They're an RV on steroids that will last you a lifetime. They are comfortable, too, fitted with all the amenities you would expect, and they even include a wood stove. Timberline Range Camps can be used as a hunting camp or a towable home to take you to your remote getaway. One thing is for sure, all your friends will be envious of your towable range camp trailer. Find out more at sheepcamps.com. That's sheepcamps.com for Timberline Range Camps.
You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. It's time for some outdoors news and reports from the field. And when it comes to Alaska, the fishing is not over yet, at least not on Kodiak Island. According to Alaska Fish and Game, the island's milder climate extends the inshore stream fisheries well into November. There's plenty of rainy, blustery days keeping saltwater boats inland, but determined shore anglers can use the road system to find silver salmon, Dolly Varden, rainbow, and steelhead in the streams there. When it comes to the silvers, there's still a few bright fish to be found. Try the Buskin, American, and Olds rivers for these late arriving fish. The Buskin also supports a small run of steelhead trout, and the peak is happening about right now. Now keep in mind, it being November until April 30th, you can only use unbaited artificial lures on any of the streams here. Dolly Varden continues to present an excellent fishing opportunity. They've mainly finished spawning, but you can find them in the lakes. You can find them in deep pools in the rivers. You can catch them using nymphs, scuds, and egg pattern flies. And the Buskin, American, and Olds rivers have all got big numbers of these excellent sport fish. Finally, rainbow trout are stocked every year in over 15 lakes on the Kodiak Road system, and fall fishing can be excellent. Some of the more accessible and better producing lakes include Horseshoe, Abercrombie, Lily Pond, Jack Lake, Lee Lake, Orell, and Caroline. The daily bag limit and possession limit is 10 rainbow trout. Only one of those can be 20 inches or longer. You can find out more about fishing on Kodiak Island by checking the regulations from the Alaska Department of Fish and Game. Turning our attention to food. Did you get skunk deer hunting today? No worries, just swing by Arby's for your deer meat. That's right, Arby's is offering venison sandwiches in select markets this month. The venison sandwich at Arby's features a thick-cut venison steak and crispy onions topped with a juniper berry sauce on a toasted specialty roll. The venison is marinated in garlic, salt, and pepper and then cooked for 3 hours to juicy, tender perfection. This all from the Arby's press release on the subject. Better still, the juniper berry sauce is a Cabernet steak sauce infused with juniper berries, giving the already unique sandwich another signature twist. The venison sandwich will be offered at 17 Arby's restaurants across America, each within heavy deer hunting areas in the states of Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Georgia. Let's hope this catches on. I'd love to see Arby's do this every fall at all of their restaurants.
It's time for the Trail of Shame.
Shame, shame on you. Shame, shame on you.
Stories of poachers, scoundrels, and other ne'er-do-wells, so if you see someone committing a criminal act on the water or in the field, turn them in. It's the right thing to do.
This week on our Trail of Shame, Idaho Fish and Game needs your help to identify a poacher or poachers who have killed 2 bull moose in less than 2 weeks. The first moose was found near Fish Creek Summit when it fell on private property. The property owners found the moose still alive and called authorities, but the animal died before help could arrive. This bull moose had been shot twice, including 1 shot to the head. It was shot on either October 14th or 15th. A second bull moose was found in Unit 74 in the Cleveland area, just west of Thatcher Peak. It's believed he was killed sometime between October 15th and the 20th. If you have information leading to the arrest of the one or several poachers, we don't know if these are related, but it is suspicious, call Idaho Fish and Game and fill out a report online. You can remain anonymous or you can call 1-800-682-5999. That's 1-800-682-5999. Again, you can remain anonymous. Rewards are being offered in both cases, and we need your help to get what could be a serial moose poacher out of the field.
shame on you.
Next up on America Outdoors Radio, do you own a boat? Is it insured? Oh, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking that your auto insurance covers that boat that you're hauling along on that trailer. Well, you may be wrong. With us here to tell us more is Neil Booth with the Boat Insurance Agency. Neil, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, Neil, when I see these boats on trailers left on the side of the road, every time I see one, that tells me that guy didn't have boat insurance or towing insurance for his boat, did he?
Yeah, probably not.
And I think a lot of people just assume that their boat is covered by their auto insurance. That's generally not the case at all, is it?
No, a lot of people think that, or that their homeowners covers it. And while there might be a little bit of liability coverage or something in there, the things that could happen to that boat or trailer, whether on the water, on land, are not covered unless you have a good boat policy on it.
All right. And that's where a company like yours comes in, the Boat Insurance Agency. What's the difference between what you offer and what an automobile insurance policy might offer, that says, hey, we can insure your boat too?
Yeah, well, we're an independent agency, and we only do boats and a few boat businesses. We do some guides and charter boats, but the vast majority of what we do is pleasure boats, fishing boats for the average boat owner. You need to have a policy that covers all the possible things that could happen, whether you're running down the road or on the water. We can get into things like guiding later, but for just pleasure boat, you need to have full coverage on it. Ours differs greatly from the automobile and homeowner type companies. The coverage is better. The depreciation is less or non-existent. It's an agreed value policy, or some people call it a stated value policy. There's more things that are covered, more perils that are insured against. The liability is more broad, giving you things in addition to what you think you should get in liability. You also get fuel spill cleanup, pollution liability type cleanup, wreck removal if you sink in a channel or a boat slip or a ramp and you got to pay to get the thing moved out. There's just a lot of things that are different that usually aren't covered on your homeowners or auto policy, boat policy offering.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense that you are offering something that's very specialized compared to what you're going to get from your homeowners or your auto insurance policy. Let's talk about some of the more common claims that you see with an eye of preventing those claims from occurring in the first place.
Well, in smaller boats, fishing boats, under 26 feet, trailerable boats, typically we call small boats. Some minor things, trailering, not too much really, but even things that aren't covered on the policy, like a fried wheel bearing or a flat tire, even though that repair isn't covered, you need to have good towing on there.
Sure.
For someone to come out, work on it, get rid of it, whatever you need to do. You can't just leave a boat in a trailer sitting on the side of the road. So we see some of that on the water, especially in tidal waters. You see a lot of, in Puget Sound, for example, or Columbia River, you see a lot of logs, submerged objects. We won't talk about groundings yet, but there's a lot of things just floating around out there. Some of them you can see. Some of them are hard to see if there's a wind or a chop. Some of them are underwater a bit, and they're really hard to see, impossible to see.
Right.
So we see a lot of submerged objects getting struck. Rivers change every year. Different banks form. Channels change. We see a certain amount of grounding claims from things like that. We don't see too many stupid things, just, I guess, careless things, where take something too fast, go the wrong fork of a river, cut a buoy, cut a corner out in the sound and run aground, things like that.
All makes perfect sense, and that is why people like you are around, to help these boaters out when they do make those mistakes or when they have those unfortunate accidents. Let's give folks your website so they can find out more about getting insurance just for their boating needs.
Well, my website is www.boatinsurance.net. Boatinsurance.net. We have an 800 number, which is 828-2446. 800-828-2446. When you call us or contact us on our website, there's a way to get a quote that way. You can call us. We talk about you, your boat, and all that, and we go to several different companies and find the best one to fit what you're doing. If you want to be a part-time guide or a full-time guide, it's all doable. Become a charter captain, that's fine. You want to take your boat further than normal, that's fine. You want to go tuna fishing 35 miles out, we can make that happen too. There's a lot of exclusions in policies you have have to be careful of, and we go over all of that with you. It's all we do.
Fantastic. All right, folks, again, that's boatinsurance.net, boatinsurance.net. As you can tell, some tricky navigation to the insurance world when it comes to the boating industry. So give Neil a call. The website, again, to find out the number and find out more is boatinsurance.net. Neil, thanks for telling us all about this on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you, John.
We hope you enjoyed this week's broadcast. If you get a chance, go to our website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. When you get there, you'll find a preview of what's coming up in the week ahead and a podcast of last week's show. And don't forget to like us and follow us on Facebook, too, because we're giving away a pair of Leupold binoculars to one lucky person who likes our page and posts what state they're from on the post that we have there. Once we hit 1,100 likes, we're going to give away a pair of Leupold BX1 Rogue binoculars. That Facebook page again, America Outdoors Radio. We hope you'll support our sponsors, the publishers of those 4 great monthly outdoor magazines, Northwest Sportsman, California Sportsman, the American Shooting Journal, and the Alaska Sporting Journal, all monthly publications worth a read at a newsstand near you. It is time to go. But as always, I hope God blesses you greatly today and in the week ahead. November is a great month for hunting, fishing, and more, and I hope that you get out there to enjoy it. Remember, it's your country and your outdoors.